Hey guys, Rook here, and in this video I'm going to quickly cover how to get started mining in Star Citizen. We're going to cover the necessary things that you're going to want to do in order to quickly get up and running mining and making money in Star Citizen, starting with handling the hand miner and what to do and how to make that happen, moving right along into actually mining with a Prospector mining ship, which will quickly make you quite a bit of money in a short amount of time. So hang with us and let's get ready to laugh, learn, and make some money in Star Citizen. When it comes time to get ready to start hand mining minerals in Star Citizen, there's a couple items you're absolutely going to have to get in order to be truly effective doing it. The first item we can see here on our avatar is this Max Flex Rucksack Core Backpack. Now this is a personal inventory carrier that allows you to carry up to 60 units of minerals that you're going to hand mine. And without it, you really can't actually be picking up any of the minerals. They're too big, they're too heavy, and you're not going to be able to carry it with you. So this is an absolute must to get, and the backpack can be found at various ports. You will have to look around depending on what port you're at. Some stores do have it, not all of them. The Port Olisar port at Garrity Defense is probably the easiest place to get the backpack, and it's going to run you about 3,100 credits to pick that up. Alright, and to equip the backpack, you're going to come into your armor section, and here in the torso area, it's actually going to take the place of any type of armor you might have on for your chest. So you need to be careful, obviously you're giving up chest armor in order to carry this backpack. But just click on it, make sure you have it equipped, and then save your changes to make sure that it stays on there. Now, the next item that you're going to need is what you see here in our hands. This is the actual hand mining tool. Now it's called the Pyro RYT multi-tool, and in order to properly mine with it, you're also going to need to buy the Orbit mining attachment. Now wherever you can find the multi-tool, you'll also be able to buy the mining attachment. They are always sold in the same stores. They're not sold together, so you're going to want to make sure that you make both purchases, one for the multi-tool and then one for the mining bit attachment. Now the easiest place for me, for what I recommend to find this, is up at Levesky Conscientious Objects, or you can get it at Area 18 Cubby Blast, whichever store is your preference. Now there is a price difference depending on which store you get it at, but it's a negligible price change. It's low 400s in Area 18 and just under 500 in Levesky. But so roughly 400 to 500 for the multi-tool, and then it's another roughly 300 to 400 for the mining bit attachment. All in all, you're going to spend about 700 or 800 for the multi-tool and the mining attachment. Now, when you come across some hand minerals in the world, and there's a couple different areas you can find hand minerals to mine in the world. Obviously, on the surface of the planets and the moons, you can come across it. There are also caves on various planets and moons that you'll be able to find quite a bit of minerals depending on the RNG for that particular cave. Now, the process of actually hand mining, you're going to approach and look for these rocks. Obviously, you can kind of see the minerals in them, and you can see the color. The different color is going to tell you kind of what mineral it's there. Now as you approach, you right click to point the gun, kind of like the ADS aiming down sights, as if you're going to shoot at it. On the right side you can see there, it's giving us information about what we have here. The mineral there at the bottom, above the mineral Dolovine, we have a 0.10. That means there's the possibility of getting up to 10 pieces out of this particular rock. Next you have 3.4, has to do with the density, resistance, and obviously the stability level of the rock, of the two numbers there on the top. The important thing in mining is paying attention to this graph on the left side of the multi-tool. You have a large bottom section that's going to be your spool up for the actual laser. And you have a small green section, which is the positive section you want to be in with the laser in order to fracture the rock to expose the minerals. But above that small green section is the danger zone. That's the red area. You don't want to be in that area, because what happens there is it actually begins to overcharge the rock, and if it overcharges the rock for too long, it will actually explode, causing you damage depending on how close you are to the mineral when it explodes, and also the size and density of the rock can also dictate some of that damage. So once you kind of have the scan done, you got to wait for that scan to take place. I don't recommend firing up the laser until the scan is completed. So left click once to activate the laser. Side of the multi-tool, you will slowly raise the power of the laser from the multi-tool. Now, most of the time you are going to have to overcharge the laser to actually get it up into the green zone. And as you can see on the left side there, the graph is slowly rising. Now, in addition to overcharging the mine, you can actually move further away from the rock or closer, and that will actually adjust some of the strength of that graph. Now, as you close in on the green, you do want to start backing off of the power, because if you don't, that's exactly what happens there. You get into that overcharge section. So you kind of want to find a good source of power and then kind of do a little bit of a dance with the rock as you move back and forth to kind of keep it in the green area and avoid it getting in the red. And you can also back off the scroll wheel a little bit. So it's a little bit of a combination of adjusting the power of the laser and moving back and forth. And as you can see here, the minerals have dropped out of the rock for us. Now, approach the minerals, press your interaction key, the F key, and what you want to do is you want to stow that mineral. And you do that with each individual piece. Sometimes you got to go a little bit careful with it, because if you move too quick, you might accidentally click one of the other options, or it just won't actually even interact with it at all. Now, to ensure you know how many you have, you can press the I key, which will pull up your personal inventory. Shows you your capacity, where you're at weight-wise. And as you can see here, we've picked up 6 pieces of the dolomite, and that's there in our inventory. Now, continue to just go ahead and mine those hand minerals that you found until your backpack is completely full. Now, you can actually have a second rucksack backpack with you, and when one is full, you can actually store the full and put on a empty one and proceed to fill both of those. That way you maximize your time while you're out hand mining. One of the fastest ways to find hand minerals in Star Citizen is while you're actually using a mining ship looking for regular minerals on the surface of moons and planets. As you've gone around the planetary surfaces and moons, you're going to come across, while you're scanning, these little blue diamond shapes that pop up right here in the center of the screen. These actually designate hand minerals on the surface. When you come across these, go ahead, safely land on the planet or the moon, hop out of your ship, and proceed to go mine the hand minerals. Now, if you are on the dark side of the planet or the moon, I do recommend hitting the T key to turn on those lights. Kind of use it as a guide to point towards the minerals, maybe even point the nose of the ship a little bit close to those minerals, because sometimes on the surface of these planets and the moons, especially at nighttime, they can be rather difficult to find just walking around. So this little bit of extra tip by turning on the lights, pointing the nose of the ship, kind of serve as a guide for you to quickly find them and get back on your ship safely to get back to mining. The most effective way to make money mining in Star Citizen is going to be with the use of an actual mining ship, such as the Prospector that we see here. Now, if you don't necessarily have the funds to buy one outright in the beginning, that's alright. You can actually earn in-game credits and use your in-game credits to rent the Prospector in increments of 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, or 30 days. Now, the cost of the 7 days or 30 days can be a little bit much, and a lot of times people might tell you to try to save up for the longer period. But in actuality, if you have 2 to 4 hours a day to mine, you can actually make quite a bit of money in that little bit of time with a Prospector without any upgrades on it whatsoever. So my suggestion and recommendation when getting started is to do some of the delivery missions and maybe some of the bounty missions until you get roughly about 45,000 credits. Once you've reached 45,000 credits, you can actually go rent a Prospector for 1 day. Now, you'll need to actually probably go to Lorville, at the actual hangar section there, to the Vantage rental section. There's a couple other places that they may eventually add in to allow rentals, but for right now, in the current version of the game, 3.8, 3.81, Lorville Vantage Rentals is where you're going to want to go. Again, right now, the rental cost for 1 day, which is a 24-hour, real-world 24-hour period, is it's a little bit over 41,000 credits, and that will give you the full 24 hours. Again, that is real time from the time you rent it, so make sure that you've got at least a good 4 to 6 hours to make use of that. Preferably more than that, but I believe once you kind of get the hang of what you're doing with mining in Star Citizen, you can easily cover that 40K in that 4 to 6 hour period. And as you get a little bit more advanced, you can actually cover that 40K quite a bit faster than that. Now, you're going to get into your rental Prospector. You're going to fly down to one of the planets or moons. And once you get down here, you're going to reach the surface. You kind of want to get close. You don't want to be way up in the air, but you don't want to be real low either. I like to kind of hover in between 700 to 1500 range. You're going to hit the tab key, which is going to bring up this scanner. Now, press and hold the right keypad and you will see a count up in the middle there that will go from 0% to 100%. Once you've reached 100%, you will release the right mouse button to send the scan. As you can see here, we've had a hit. You see the big giant blue box. This tells you that there's something definitely in that section. Don't worry if it goes away. You can always resend the scan. As you can see, we have a hit. So let's move in and see what we have. Now, as you get closer to that, if it is an actual mining rock for you to mine, a little rock symbol will pop up, which is different than the diamond symbol, which denotes the hand minerals. Now, once you get close enough and you can see how that orange highlighted line on the outside of the rock pops up, once you've seen that orange line, you can actually press and hold the left mouse button and start a secondary scanning process. This will provide you information about that exact rock you're looking at. Now, this gives us the size of the rock, the instability, the optimal power window, power transfer rate on the left side. This is good information to know because it kind of tells us the size of the rock and what to expect it's going to require with the mining laser to get through it. On the right side here, we have the type of minerals to be found inside of it, such as here we have a rock that has a diamond and corundum in it. Now, the composition is actually going to tell you the percent of that particular mineral. That's the first number, such as here we have 3.04% diamond. The secondary number there is actually the purity. Here we have 19.44. Now, the purity number has to do with how the actual rock is going to fracture and the possibility of like the size of the rock percentage wise that's going to break off for that particular mineral. So now that we found it, we can hit the M key for mining and pull out our mining laser. Now, once you do this, if you haven't scanned, a scanning process will begin. So if you are to cover that, it will kind of start a little bit of a scanning process. So that scanning process will give you some of that partial information that you could have gotten with the left mouse click earlier. Now there are two modes to the miner. You have here fracture mode. Now if you hit right click once, you're going to change from fracture mode into the extraction mode. You're not going to need this right away, but I just wanted to make you aware that if you accidentally click the right mouse button before you're ready, this is what it's going to look like.
Fracturing mode on.
So make sure you're in fracture mode, and you're going to want to approach the rock. You don't want to get real close, but you do want to be close enough that you can kind of see what's going on. Now, you're going to hit left mouse button once, and this starts your laser. Now in our bottom left corner here of our graph, we can see laser throttle and the rock energy level. Once again, you're going to make use of your middle mouse scroll wheel, and slowly as you turn the scroll wheel up, you're going to increase the power of the laser throttle. And as that happens, the rock energy level is going to start to raise. Now once again, we have a entry level portion of the graph, and then we have a green positive section capped off by the red danger section. This is very much like the hand mining, although I personally feel like mining in the ship is quite a bit safer and easier, but it does have a little bit of an art to it. So let's go ahead and try to crack this rock. Now I like to start off kind of slow. Some people may just like want to do this and just crank it all the way up. I don't actually recommend doing this, and there's a couple reasons why I don't recommend just immediately cranking it all the way to 100. For one, you could get a server hiccup at that exact moment, which causes a little bit of lag or latency to happen. And if you've cranked it all the way to 100, you could actually be generating the rock energy level all the way up into that red danger zone and not even recognize it. So I like to kind of shoot for around the 20 to 30% range and see if we actually get some movement on that energy level. If it's not moving enough, then you can continue to scroll up on the throttle. Now once it starts moving, if you have it real heavy on the throttle, it will jump real quick. But it's actually a little bit safer again to go slow on the throttle and let the energy level climb into the green. Because if it slowly climbs into the green, you have a better chance of controlling it and keeping it in that green section. But once it reaches that green section, the fracturing sensor on the right bottom section will begin climbing. We need to get that to 100% without getting into the red. Now as you start to climb through that green, you're going to want to back off. And now we've successfully fractured the rock into some smaller pieces. Now, as we can see here, this chunk that's fallen off, the system has scanned it and told us this has inert materials. This is basically telling you this piece of rock here that we just cut off, it's made up of worthless materials. Now, if this was actually made up of something, we would consider further fracturing that piece. Thankfully, we can go ahead and ignore this piece. So point towards the next and allow the scan to happen.
Scan complete.
Okay, this piece now has 22.66% diamond and 17.29% corundum. Now, obviously, that does not make 100%. The remaining percentage is made up of, you guessed it, worthless materials. So after you've initially cracked a rock, you do want to kind of go ahead and quickly scan all the pieces.
Scan complete.
You want to figure out what you're working with, because in order to maximize your profits, you only have a limited amount of space in your cargo hold. And you want to focus on getting the best pieces extracted first.
Scan complete.
So most of the pieces that have broken off are pretty much not worth a whole lot for us.
Scan complete.
So it looks like we've got a couple good pieces that have some diamond in it. This one obviously has the highest percentage of diamond. So what we want to do is we want to get in a little closer, start our fracture mode again, and look to break up this bigger piece of rock into some smaller fragments. Again, we kind of go slow. The smaller the pieces get, the less throttle you're going to need to actually fracture them up. So as you get smaller, you're probably going to want to not go all the way up full throttle.
Scan initiated.
Now, as you can see here, the outline around these pieces of rock are no longer orange, they're purple. This means if you want to interact with these, you're going to need to move from fracture mode
Extraction mode
into the
on.
extraction mode. Now again, you kind of want to take a look around. This piece right here has absolutely no diamond in it, only corundum and inert material. We do want to kind of focus on the mineral list and getting the best value for our time and our space. This piece has 30% diamond in it. That's a pretty nice piece. But here we have a piece that has a little over 54% diamond and a little over 45% corundum. Now if you add those together, you pretty much have 100%. Now occasionally you might see something, you might see a rock fragment that tells you it's got 100% and then some. I'm not quite sure what that extra is. Occasionally you'll see it over 100%. I usually don't worry about that a whole lot. But here in this situation, we can pretty much say, all right, we're getting all diamond and corundum on this piece, no inert materials. Let's go ahead and take it. Now all you have to do is actually just left click to start the extraction process. The rocks will pull in. There's no personal activity outside of that. Now with the remaining pieces, you do again continue to be picky on what you take. So we've got a 30% diamond and we've got a 23% diamond. We're going to go ahead and focus on the larger diamond portion. And this gets more important the closer you get to 100% cargo capacity. So you do want to kind of play the numbers and make sure that you're maximizing value for cargo capacity. Once you've done this and you've hit 100% cargo capacity, you actually will get a warning when you hit 100%. You can't take more than that. Once you're done, hit the M key again to pull your miner away.
Mining mode on.
And you can move on to the next rock if you still have space. If not, then it's time to head back to port and go sell and turn your profits. Once you've returned to port, whichever local port you've chosen to go sell your minerals at, you're going to want to head to the administration area for that particular port. Now there's going to be two sets of screens that you're going to be interacting with. One is going to be entirely for your personal inventory, and this will be your hand minerals that you've mined while you've been out, and you'll sell them from your personal inventory on that screen. The other is going to be for your ship, in this case our Prospector. Now this is a fairly solid run, but you can see here that we did have over a quarter of our haul was the inert materials, which, as we've discussed, you want to do your best to avoid getting too much of this, because obviously it takes up a lot of valuable cargo space and is not worth very much. But overall, 35,000, a little bit over 35,000 for a one quick haul with the Prospector, and that's a really solid run. Not the best you can do, but definitely well above a haul with lower minerals in it. Once you finish selling your ship inventory at this screen, as I said, you'll have to go to a secondary screen to find your personal inventory. Click on the sell, personal inventory, and this is where you're going to sell the hand minerals that you've collected. Click on the actual icon, and you can select how many units you want to sell. Most likely you're going to want to sell all of them. And that is just going to be added money on top of what you've collected while you're mining in the ship, or if you're just doing hand mining to try to save up enough to do the ship rentals. When it comes to mining in the ship, you're definitely going to want to pay attention to the type of mineral that you are mining. Now, when you first get started in a base prospector, which is going to have just a generic mining head on that ship, there's going to be quite a few of the minerals in Star Citizen that you just probably won't be able to get to. Now, I'm going to include a chart here that has the list of minerals for mining in a mining ship, and it's kind of broken up into three sections. You have your bottom level, your mid tier, and then your upper tier. With the Prospector at the base level, you're going to probably find yourself really being limited to the bottom and mid tiers to begin with, until you're able to eventually get better mining heads on the ship, which is then going to open up the top tier. So when you're first getting started, don't be afraid to just take the practice and collect whatever you can. You'll start to kind of get a feel for what you can and can't do. Typically, you kind of want to stay in the copper to titanium range, but don't be afraid to pick up some of the lower numbers. You do want to try to avoid aluminum and quartz, but a little bit of corundum here and there is not going to hurt to top off a load. But with that base level, like I said, you're probably going to find titanium as being about the top mineral you're going to get. Occasionally, you can probably crack a rock that has a little bit of agricium in it, but that's probably going to be the top end that you're going to reach. Now, eventually, you'll be able to, like I said, upgrade the mining heads, and once you have better mining heads, you're going to have access to cracking all of the minerals that you see here on this list. Well, guys, that's going to wrap things up for this quick guide into mining in Star Citizen. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you've been able to gain a little bit of information. Obviously, we're not able to quickly cover absolutely everything, and some of mining in Star Citizen does take practice and a little bit of work. I'm going to include a few extra links below the video to kind of help you get started. But don't be afraid to reach out, come hang out with us. We are live every day on Twitch. Whether I'm playing Star Citizen or something else, I'm always willing to help answer questions. So come on by, hang out with us on Twitch at rook_kale, or you can hit me up on Twitter as well at Empire Rook. Please come by, hang out, leave some comments. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Also, do us a great favor and click that subscribe button and the like if you enjoyed this content and would like to see more. Until then, guys, fly safe, make lots of money, and most of all, have fun and enjoy your time in Star Citizen.